I'm Dorothy Woodend. I'm the culture editor for the TIE in Vancouver. And the TIE is an online magazine that's global in its reach, but mostly concentrates on BC and issues related to BC. So I've been part of the TIE for, oh good Lord, I think going on 16 years or something like that. I started out as their film critic in 2004 and then did various things. So I worked with DOCSA, which is the Documentary Film Festival in Vancouver, and VIF, which is the Vancouver International Film Festival for many, many years. And then was always the TIE's film critic off the side of my desk, as it were. And I came on board as the culture editor, I think 2 years ago. So it kind of broadened my purview in terms of the things that I write about, the things that I cover. But film is still my first love, and I actually did a degree in film animation at LA Carr. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it started out way back in the day, like in the mid '90s, somewhere in there. So that's my my sort of intro to myself. So tell us about yourself.
Great, thank you, thank you. Yeah, actually, I came from animation background. I worked in the game industry for 5 years. Then I started making documentaries in 2014, actually, full time. Yeah, so I became an independent documentary maker in 2014. Yeah, so there is some reason behind that. I have some close friend that their family members got persecuted in the current by the current communist government in China. So I was really moved by their stories. So I decided to make documentaries. I think it's a powerful tool that can be the voice for people that doesn't have the ability to speak for themselves. So yeah, that's when I decided to join join the documentary team and start working on that. So it's been almost 7 years now. The past one, the last one I did, Up We Soar, is actually I said this story. I met this wonderful girl and her mother. Their story is really inspiring, and I feel like I can really use my animation background to to make this story happen, because they are living in the States already, right? They became refugees, so it's no way I can go back to China. I will get arrested for that. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I can just use animation to do this documentary. So this is the whole idea. This is what happened, So I finished the film. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was kind of interested in that convergence of animation and documentary. You don't see it all that often. Occasionally you do. But it is a kind of a curious combination, because they're, the animation being something that's a bit more kind of fantasy driven, and documentary very much the opposite. So I think it sounds like it's kind of the sort of two tracks of your life kind of coming together in terms of the storytelling. So was it important to kind of tell this particular story in that fashion?
Yeah, this one, like I mentioned, it's the reason why I decided to use format, because like you said, the animation is usually a very different. It's very different. For fantasy, we used to work on a lot of fantasy topics, and for documentary, it's heavy, it's realistic. We need to just work with the style really carefully. Otherwise, it will create a really strange taste. So yeah, for this one, the story, as I mentioned, it inspired me, and also I feel like it's really no other way to gather any materials from them, other than their interviews. Because I cannot interview anyone from their past life, or to go to the city they lived in. They all be too dangerous. So too dangerous to do. So I'm thinking, choose this format will be a good option. Yeah, but it's challenging for sure. Yeah.
I'm curious, I guess, maybe for people who aren't readily familiar with the situation in China and Falun Gong practitioners. If you could maybe just get a bit of an overview of the situation, just to kind of situate people in terms of the story that you're about to tell in your film. Because I knew a little bit about it, but in doing a bit more research, I was actually quite astounded by just how incredibly vicious and cruel the campaign has been, and how really widespread, not just in China, but outside of China as well.
Exactly. It shocks me as well. So the persecution against Falun Gong started in 1999. It's been 21 years already. I learned this when because I grew up in China. I graduated from the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing. When I was in China, honestly, everything is, I would use the word covered up so wild. A lot of like me and my friends, we didn't even know this is happening. And I learned a lot of information when I came to Canada as an international student. And I studied animation in the college, and I learned most of the stuff in overseas. And that's really, I feel exactly the same. It shocked me when I well, back in China, we have our own local internet, which is censored by the firewall, right? So we can't use Google. We can't Google anything. But when I Google the word Falun Gong on the internet, I was like, astounded as well. I was like, so how come like a few million people was tortured and killed, and we didn't even know about this in our own country? This is just so shocking to me. And the thing that triggered me is I know a close friend in Canada, like her family was, I don't know if you know this, like from 2016, some armed secret policeman was sending out a secret tape about a surgery he was participating. He was the guard for that surgery, because they were harvesting organs from left prisoners. That prisoner happens to be a Falun Gong practitioner. She's a young woman. She used to be a teacher, and she has like a 3-4 years old daughter. And they were harvesting her. She was giving all this information begging the doctor to stop, but obviously they didn't. And the arms police record this secret video and send it overseas to the media. And what happened? Because I had a friend in Canada, like she was having a similar situation in her family. She strongly believed that her sister got organ harvested as well. And obviously there's no evidence. This is one of the main, if you think about it, it's really ridiculous when the Chinese government is, they were against these victims and their family. They will say, okay, give us live evidence. Where is the evidence? And of course, it's a crime committed by the states. It will be covered up, and the victims are dead. How can you have any kind of evidence about this, right? So this is a whole, how severe this is and how it touched me. I have a personal tie to this girl, and it really makes me feel that I have to do something, because I have to use my skills to, help them. Otherwise, my conscience just can't. I can't live with this. It's So.
And why do you think that Falun Gong in particular is such an incredibly threatening thing to the Chinese government? Because it's, when you look at it, it seems like such a benign force.
That's actually a really, really good question. I studied this myself. I was actually like shocked by why this spend, because to persecuting a group, a large group like this is not a cheap job. I chatted with a high rank, how to say this? I chatted with the official from the embassy I have some friends in there. So I talked to a high rank official in there, and he told me from their own estimate, the money they spend to persecuting Falun Gong is like fighting a war with a medium-sized developed country. That's how much money they are spending to doing this. And I'm wondering why they are spending so much money and effort to build the firewall to censor the information. Is actually the beginning, the reason, the the reason is quite unbelievable. It's the central government in Beijing, the leadership in the early 90s, when the spiritual movement start growing really fast, right? Their own estimate, there are 100 million people join the movement. So they are starting practice like qigong in the park, and back then the central government, the leader, the chairman was Jiang Zemin, right? He was thinking, it's too many people joining this spiritual group. It's gonna become a threat eventually to the central community, to the central Communist Party, because you know, a lot more and more believers, they see it as a threat.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why they start this. And once they started this, they were expecting something. They were expecting a quick result, because like a cultural revolution or like a Tiananmen massacre, they were expecting something will be finished in a few weeks. Because you know, when they send the tanks or the secret place to your door, you know, people are gonna get you know, they're gonna get scared right away, so they will dismiss.
Yeah.
But for this spiritual group is kind of different, because a lot of the practitioners, you know, because their principles is truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So they insist to tell the truth about the government. Say it's wrong. We are believing in the good principles. So it has to be some kind of misunderstanding, because they believe naively was, you know, something. There's some misunderstanding between them and the government. So that's why the persecution doesn't end like within a few weeks or a few months. It actually became a really long process. But when, you know, when they start killing people, it's really no way for them to stop. There's not a break, like you can just break, because you kill someone, they have their families and friends. You can't just stop it, right? So they have to keep persecuting more and more and more. When the people will try to reveal the truth, they have to persecute those people as well. So it just turned into a huge mess in you know, in a few years, and this is what we are right now. You know, they have to spending more money to censor the internet, to cover up the crime, more and more crime. You know, it just this is how it happens.
You think the principles of Falun Gong allow it to be more resistant in that way to something that is as oppressive as, you know, a government crackdown or a suppression campaign?
That's a great question too. Actually, I got a lot of people that ask me, because, you know, I like I said, I grew up in China. I have a lot of close friends, teachers, and friends. You know, when I was in college, when I was trying to tell them this story, they asked me the exactly same thing, because I was asking myself this, because they were asking me, say, hey, why are you making stories about them? You know, why can't they just be quiet about it? Because, you know, if it's a persecution, if they believe in tolerance, or, you know, they should be quiet. You know, in Chinese people, we have this special culture called we can't lose face. You know, so when we're saying, hey, when something happened within our country, you cannot spread the news in the world, because it's making our country losing face. This is how a lot of Chinese people are thinking that way. Because I actually think a little bit different than that, because this is something I asked myself, and when I answered them, I said, it's like a 20-year-old beating a 3-year-old. You know, when they ask me, said, why can't those people be quiet? When I listen to their stories, I mean, those victims' stories, I feel like this is like a state. They have the army, they have the weapon to persecuting the people that doesn't have anything. It's like a 20-year-old beating up a 3-year-old. And now what they are asking, okay, you be quiet. It's like you are beating a 3-year-old and you're telling the 3-year-old, okay, so you are making me losing faith. So be quiet, don't cry. You know, you didn't give them the rights to crying, to express their pain. You know, this is something I feel like is, you know, that exactly, it go back to the exact reason why, you know, I gave up all my good opportunities and careers, go back to China and, you know, be successful. I will stay overseas and do this, because I sacrifice a lot from doing that, you know, because I don't think it's safe for me to go back anymore. So
And do you see parallels, I think, between what's happening to the Uyghur community in China at the moment, in terms of also what's been happening to Falun Gong practitioners?
Wow, you did do your research really well. Those are really good questions. Yes, the Uyghurs community. You see, that's the second reason when my friends talk to me, said, hey, don't lose faith for our nation. I tell them, this is something as our duty to expose this. What happened to Falun Gong? What happened to the Uyghurs? What happened to the Tibetans? To show the world that we still have those kind of, we are still here as the Chinese people. We willing to do this sacrifice and speak for this voiceless.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually saving our face, not covering up. This because when we covering up, I like to think this as some kind of virus. Okay, think about in World War II, when the Nazis are killing the Jews, it's exactly the same thing. This genocide, if we don't, it's not shame to stand up and stop it, right? It's shameful if we ignore it, if we pretend nothing happened, everything is peaceful and rich and peaceful in China. Okay, come back to the knowledge topic. This is exactly what happened in the COVID-19 situation. How did this get to this stage? How did the virus get out of control? It's because the truth get covered up. So we saw brewer was sick, was dead for some mystery reason. So the virus news didn't come out on time. That's how the whole world got affected. You see, that's exactly the same reason I said, for exposing this is so important. And for Falun Gong people, for the Uyghurs, is all the same. For the concentration camp in what happened in Xinjiang, they denied it. But there's 1 or 2 million Uyghur people were in the camp. How can you deny that? I mean, like, who will risk their life if they're not the victim? If they're not like the Falun Gong practitioners and the Uyghurs, if they are not the victim, who will risk their life to speak such thing inside this kind of like a place, country, right? They are risking their life for doing that.
Yeah, well, and I think that's partly the role of documentary filmmakers in particular, is to actually tell those stories that couldn't be seen or told in any other fashion. Like, the number of films that I've seen that have come out of China in, the last 10 years, really, even somebody like Ai Weiwei, like taking that personal risk to actually tell those stories. And, the repercussions were severe in terms of, not just his career, but a level of, violence directed at him, physically. I guess I'm curious, in telling this story, did you have any reservations about your own safety, even being outside of the country?
Yeah, that's for Ai Weiwei, it's a little bit different because Ai Weiwei, his father is already a very famous famous man in China.
Yeah.
He has the the background. He has a really famous background. So, but people like him, first of all, I admire his courage and everything. It's really, for him, is what I'm trying to say is harder for the Communist Party to touch him because he's so famous and well known. If you actually really imprison him or kill him, it's gonna have a very big effect. But for filmmakers like me, unfortunately, we are not that famous. If we go back, there's hundreds of ways that they can harm us. So that's why it's really unsafe for us to go back to do any kind of documentary on the Chinese soil. It's just very, that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And my family, that's my family is really, they start getting calls from the secret place already. But the secret place, they didn't say they are a secret place. They say they have all kinds of titles, but we know we as Chinese, we know they are a secret place. They will say, sometimes your relatives, Yan, you should warn him to be careful outside, this kind of thing, because don't speak too much. But they can't threaten me, but they were threaten my family like that. Yeah, it's not like I said, it's really tough. It's just to me, I haven't seen my mom lives with me in Toronto, and the rest of my family, I haven't seen them for 13 years. I just can't go back right now because it's it's dangerous. Yeah.
Because I think there are, in watching your film, I was thinking about, even something like the civil rights movement in the US and how that, form of passive resistance was employed against violence and how effective it was. But it's been such an ongoing struggle for, from Jim Crow days until now. And so I'm kind of wondering, I guess, about the level of endurance that people have in terms of continuing that fight.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the process of making the film, because it's quite astoundingly beautiful. So you're most welcome. In terms of like actually making it, you were using motion capture for the animated sequences, or how did that work?
Yep. So we used motion capture techniques during the process. This is come back to when I decided to use this style to make the documentary. Like we talked about earlier, we can't really make the animation like a really Disney style or the style that mean for a fantasy topic. It has to be realistic and kind of that we want everything, it can exaggerate it too much. So it has to be very close to human, real person, as close as possible. So a lot of the action things, we motion captured it. But we also have animators work with the motion capture data together. So we literally like storing that motion capture animation with hanky animation together. And all the face expressions are made by hand.
I see.
And but some of the big like beating and some action movements, they actually come from motion capture system.
Yeah, yes. I was curious about that scene in particular because it is incredibly brutal, and but necessary to the story. And I guess I'm interested in terms of the challenge of that particular scene and how difficult it was for you in terms of even the staging of it. Can you like describe or talk a little bit about how you put that together?
Oh, which scene you're talking
specifically about? Specifically the beating scene. There's a number of torture scenes, but that one in particular where the mother seated. Yeah, she's seated in the chair and she's been beaten about the face.
Yep. Those ones, those ones are the ones that I need a lot of combination. So it needs a lot of work from the animators too, hanky animation. Yeah. So we have the data. We recorded the data separately. We can't really slap the actor, obviously.
Very carefully choreographed.
So we have one actor like a step half meter away from the other one. So he was doing the movement. They were just acting together, but like with a short distance apart from each other. And then after we get the data, we have the animators to adjust the postures to make it stronger. Because when real human movement, it doesn't feel as powerful as animated movements. So so we had a lot of hanky animation in there, and we erase the distance between the characters. That's how it's like a conversation of those actions. Yes.
Interesting. So in terms of your actual, I guess, distribution plan for the film, like a number of festival screenings as well, but in terms of actually getting it out to a wider audience, do you have anything kind of in the works going forward?
Lucky. We're quite lucky because after we finished this, actually this happened last month. We do have a broadcaster that interested in the film, so they want to play on their network. You probably heard about the newspaper called Epoch Times.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have a media group, and they have their television channel called NTD Television. So they will broadcast the film on their network. So it's a global network. I think it will raise a lot of awareness from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after that, I made a decision that because usually we were expecting some some income because animation is very expensive.
Yep.
We were expecting to sell some copies from the story. Even it's an independent film, we're still expecting some payback. But just same times, after talking to a few people last month, I feel like I wanted to put the film after the distribution on TV. I will put the film on internet for free. So I feel like again, the first priority is to be the voice, to make awareness instead of making money. So for this one, so I will just so that decision was made a few weeks before. So I'll go. So we're gonna put it on internet. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess ultimately, what are your sort of biggest hopes for the film in terms of its impact? You know, the sort of not just raising awareness, but I guess that sense of empathy that it really creates in terms of people's personal, familial experiences, because you centered the story in, you know, in this family unit, and the you know, how they contend with it, not just, you know, the daughter, but the mother and the dad as well. So I'm wondering, like, was that a really, I mean, was that approach really important to you to have that very personal aspect embedded in the center of the film?
Yes, that's actually, besides the persecution, for the persecution side, like obviously we want people to, you know, be aware of it. And I know, because we are, as independent filmmakers, we are, like I mentioned from my own experience, we know we are against a media that's run by a whole country. You know, they have unlimited resources, and they make news all over the world. So it's really hard for us to spread the truth. Even for me, my own friends, a lot of them, because when they see the central news from the central government in Beijing, a lot of Chinese people, they wouldn't believe me. You know, they wouldn't believe me or every way. They'll say, "Oh, we are the liars because Americans are paying for us, because the Canadians are paying for us." They were thinking that we have like a foreign enemy force behind us to do this, hire us. But honestly, I didn't get any good pay on working on this film. I'm actually donating a lot of money to this film.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Like I said, so risk awareness is the purpose. And so secondly, you ask why the personal story, we choose this family topic. To me, there's another layer of thing that it really interests me, because when I talk to the girl, Fuyao, right, she's in New York, the very impressive thing that for me is she has such a bright heart. When the little details I noticed when I was with her, we were in the supermarket and she was picking up stuff, and there's the apples and the cucumbers. She will take the not good looking ones. I was asking because this is very small details that really touches me. I was asking her that why you do this. So she said when she was young, she used to, because after they practiced Falun Gong, her mom taught her, be kind, and she was picking the bad apples from the basket so she can save the good ones for others. This is actually another big reason behind I decided to feature this family. Is when she grew up as a teenager, a young girl and then a teenager, she grew up most of the time without her parents, which is really extremely difficult in the modern society, especially in China and in the Western society it's the same. And for teenagers, it's just a very troubled age for them. And this girl, she grew up with all the caring of her parents, and it's a very extreme situation. And she turned out really healthy. Not only physically but also psychologically as well. She had really bright and very warm heart towards the world. She didn't get like how to say she didn't get darkened by what happened to her. She still can think positively. That's why I'm thinking through the film, that's something else I want to show. I want to express is, how important to maintain the positive energy from your spirits, especially from her mother. When her mother was in prison, the only way to communicate with her troubled teenage girl is by writing letters. But you see, the content for her, she used a lot as the example, like how should, what kind of mindset determine, what kind of person you will be. So it just feels really touching to me, because I feel this is the essence of traditional Chinese culture. From the what the Lao Tzu said the water is the highest kindness. It's the softest, but it conquers everything. This is actually the essential elements for the real traditional Chinese traditional culture, which use the kindness to overcome the hardship. And I feel like discover the persecution that happening to the practitioners. And also, I feel that I want to show this bright side of my culture to the audience as well, which perfectly reflects this really old and rich culture. Yeah.
And does she still have ties to the Falun Gong community, not just in China, but the sort of expat community in terms of actual practitioners?
Oh, for her, yes. Her whole family is still practicing in New York. Yeah, and I think she's working. I mentioned the film. She was working for NTD Network, the NTD TV. That's actually an independent media that it doesn't receive any funding from the Chinese government. So they will be able to broadcast and run news independently. So they won't have any kind of filter. So Fu Yao is actually the host over there. So she's a news anchor. She's actually delivering the uncensored news to China, which is a perfect loop, right? It's she was
certain poetry to that, actually.
Right. I know.
Yeah, because her dad was a news anchor, like in China.
Exactly. Exactly. She was like kind of after his carry
his legacy.
On the torch. Yeah, carrying on the torch. Yes.
And I guess going forward, like, what do you foresee in terms of, I guess, the current situation for the Falun Gong community in China? But do you foresee, I guess, any sort of positive developments in terms of organized resistance and people kind of really continuing that fight against repression?
Well, organizing resistance for practitioners, Falun Gong practitioners, well, I don't think they will organize any like a physical resistance to the government.
But in terms of like passive resistance, I guess.
Yeah, they're not violent people at all. So you probably see them in the park doing exercises, really peaceful, and a lot of them are old people. So I think what will continue for sure. I think it will continue for sure is if the persecution keep going. I'm sure that they won't keep silence. People like me, even I will keep helping them, make the voice for them. Yeah.
Well, and I think therein lies the value of art, right, as a means to convey that message in a very empathetic and very beautiful fashion, so that it has the greatest impact, not just on people in terms of their level of information, but their emotional reaction to the story. And I think that's why it's important, right, to make something that is as beautiful as it can be, because then it has longevity outside of even the issue itself.
Yeah. That's why I try to express that we see through the darkness, the persecution, but also we see the beauty that's within the people's spirits. That's they still keep a very bright heart in the end.
Yeah. Well, and I think you captured that really well. The final scene is really, really, really lovely.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. All right. Well, I think that's a great place for us to end. So it's been a true pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for the opportunity to see your really wonderful film.
Thank you.
All right. Well, say goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.